families, I'm back and welcome to my channel. This is Kimberly Purpose. Today I want to do another video about DNA tests. Um, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. I was just looking, came across this video, this article I meant to say, and I started thinking about DNA tests. Not too long ago, I was thinking about taking a DNA test, and I was really excited about it, and I told my mom about it, and my mom said, "Why are you giving out your information like that? Why do you want to, just give out your personal information like that?" And I didn't think much of it, but then my mom started having me thinking like, well, no, hey, no. Once you give your saliva and everything, your DNA, where does it go and what do they do with this information? And it had me thinking. I said, So I I used to think I was going to do my DNA test at first, and then I changed my mind and decided that I wasn't going to do it. I decided that for me, my grandmother gave me a lot of information about my ancestor. And after doing my research and family tree, I realized a lot of the stuff that my grandmother has told me is actually lines up with what's going on in the history and the laws and everything that spoke of, like the Dawes Commission and, the Jim Crow and being able to trace, relatives based on dates and information and census and, data that way. That's why I decided not to go that route. Plus, I was concerned about the privacy. And this article sort of touches on that. And I also did some research on some of these DNA test companies, and it made me even more skeptical about it. And I have some reasons for that. Because most of these companies are owned by, I'm pretty sure, Caucasians. And given the history that we have about how our history was written down in history books by Europeans and Caucasians, and how a lot of things have been left out and misconstrued and changed around to fit their narrative, I've been pretty skeptical about these DNA tests because I don't think they're giving no accurate information. And I've been reading that a lot of the information they do gather, it doesn't show, it only is not very, I guess the best way to say it is, it doesn't give you a full scale of your whole ancestry. It doesn't even, it's like astrology, shooting in the wind. People are pretty much making up what your, heritage is, So it doesn't give you a clear, detailed information about, your ancestry and where you come from. I think it's less than 1% that I read. Don't take my word from it, but I know it's very low number as to how accurate it is. But I read in an article a while back, and that showed that doesn't really show that much about. It doesn't go that far back up, your family tree, and it's not very effective. And also, I was wondering about how the people who are taking your test, what are they doing with your information? That's the main thing that I'm concerned about is, who gets it and what they're doing with it. Because after they get your information, you don't really have much rights or say so as to what they do with your DNA. And if it's ran by Caucasians, and I've been reading up, there's a few Jewish, Ancestry Me, I think, let me see, 23, let's see, here it is, 23 and Me. I think that's a Jewish owned DNA company. I'm not sure about Ancestry DNA, but some of the Jews owns it. And the reason why I was a little leery about that, no, don't get me wrong, I don't have nothing against the Jews or anything. It's just they're all Europeans, they're grays. And I know with the Jews, they claim Israel, and some people, who are African American, aka Aborigines, believe that we are the ones that should be the Hebrew Israelites. We're the true Hebrew Israelites. I'm not sure. I don't take any sides on that, but I guess I was concerned because I know that I'm just speculating, but I did see a documentary of a Jewish company that was trying to prove that the Jews were the Native Americans in the United States. So it's like, not only did they claiming heritage in Israel, they trying to come into the Americas and claim our heritage as being, the original ones here in the Americas. And if they own the DNA test, the Jews, they can use your information to claim your heritage still. And that's the biggest concern of people stealing our information for their own gain. And I don't even know if people look at that. Maybe I'm just one of those types that see more into it, but I'm just giving the fact with the history of the identity theft of Dawes Commission and a lot of white and gray washing of our history and things being hidden. It makes me a little bit leery about these DNA tests, how it can be used, and, with the history of eugenics and how a lot of our information has been used for gray supremacy to benefit themselves. It just makes me a little bit skeptical, very skeptical and leery of what's going on and how they're using our information and why they're targeting African Americans so much. I know that we have an identity crisis and they preying on our vulnerabilities, and I just sometimes wonder, are they, what are they using the information that they're gathering from us, even though the information we pay for is not accurate and is not detailed, we're not guaranteed that it's 100%, it's less than 1% from what I'm reading in some of my sources I came across. It's like astrology. That's what they say, that this is like comparable to astrology. It's not foolproof. So I'm going, he's freely giving this information. You paying them for information that you think you're getting, but they getting your information, and where does it go? And that's what this article is all about. And I just wanted to share what I'm thinking and brainstorming and everything. But this article goes into detail as to some of the concerns about the privacy. It says, could genetic testing companies violate your privacy? Like I said, that's why I was concerned about privacy. And then with them targeting African Americans so heavily, it makes me wonder what their whole agenda is. And we as Aborigines need to be looking at that. What are these DNA companies' agenda? Why is it that they're targeting us so much? Yeah, we do have an identity crisis. We're trying to figure out who we are, but why? What are they doing with this information? Are they using it for good, or are they using it to reap more benefits off for our suffering and the things that have happened to us in the past? That's what my concern is. But anyway, this article is written by Stephanie Pappas, and she's a Live Science contributor. This article comes from Live Science. And let's read. According to the picture shows, it says a DNA collection kit at home genetic testing. Okay, that's just a picture of what it looks like. And let's continue. It says Democratic Senator Chuck Sumner is calling on the Federal Trade Commission to investigate the privacy policies of an at-home DNA test testing companies. These companies, which include 23andMe, Ancestral DNA, and MyHeritage DNA, promise consumers the opportunity to find out more about their ancestry and genetic health risk with the simple cheek swab and mail-in kit. However, the security and privacy of the resulting gene sequences is not always clear, and there are a few laws regulating companies' behavior, say medical ethics experts who praise Sumner's efforts. See, that's what I'm saying. As they say, it's a security and privacy risk. And see, these laws don't protect people and the consumer, and a lot of these companies don't have to follow any, if there's no laws regulating them, they can do whatever they want to do. And that's scary, very scary, and that's not a good thing. But anyway, let's continue. It says genetic testing firm sells the results of their test to pharmaceutical companies and third-party laboratories, said Peter Pitts, the president of the Center of Medicine and Public Interest. The data is stripped of names and other identifying information, but truly anonymizing DNA is a Herculean task. Researchers have found that comparing anonymous DNA database with public records could reveal the names and address of people behind the gene sequences, Pitt said. See what I'm saying? See, they can use your information and sell it for, for whoever and whomever for anything. And, that's not a good thing. And I think everybody should be looking at that, what are they doing with this information and how does it affect me? And how come this consumer is not getting paid for their information? You paying them, but they can use your information how they see fits, and it makes me very leery. Sometimes I wonder if it even goes against HIPAA. But anyway, for those of you all who are in the health field, understand that there's laws that protect people's health records. And I don't understand why this is not applied to the DNA companies, But anyway, let's continue. Some of the information sharing can have benefits, Pitt said, life science, such as development of personalized medicine. But with few safeguards, the pitfalls are looming. I can see that happening too. It all leads to good places for a patient if it's used appropriately. But when there's opportunity to misuse or for monetary gain, criminals are very fast on the uptake, he said. And then it has here, understanding 10 most destructive human behaviors. That's just another recommended article. But anyway, it says the anonymous and aggregated at home genetic testing companies have varying private privacy. Typically, these privacies require consent by consumers to share personal identifying data, but often allow the sale or sharing anonymous DNA information, which has been stripped of names of other identifying information, and aggregate DNA information, which includes statistics like the percentage of an ethnic group test that has a particular disease risk. See, like I said, they claim they strip your name, but how do you know that? You don't really know that. And what are they using it for? That's what I want to know. And is it to take claims of other people's heritage and erase people's history or anything? You just don't know, and what are they selling it for? And it's just, and can they trace you? It's just, you just don't know. Me, I just starting to open my eyes and understand, trying to understand, what's their whole agenda, and I don't think they share that information with people. And I personally wonder, feel like if you're going to share information for profit, the people you're getting information from should be aware of what you're doing with the information. And it should be told as to exactly what you're doing with the information and how it's going to be applied. But anyway, let me continue. It says both types of information sharing can be fought, said Art Kaplan, a bioethicist at the New York University School of Medicine. Anonymizing DNA is not necessarily so anonymous, given that genes are, in essence, the most identifying information of all. See? Oh, gosh, y'all. This is so deep. And then it really targeting African Americans, make you wonder what they're doing with the information. But anyway, used two public genealogical databases and found that researchers could correctly uncover people's surname for their genetic data alone 12 to 18% of the time. That is not good. If the researchers knew the consumer's surname as well as the year of birth and state of residency, they can comb the database and narrow down the possible number of genetic profiles that might be theirs as to few as a dozen. See? It says revealing the targeted identity in these genealogical databases also pinpoint their genetic relatives. Another problem with genetic data, your gene sequences are not yours alone. See? They're shared with many people. Exposure of a person's genetic information could potentially expose information about shared familial risk, Coughlin said. That is not good. See, it's too much information. They have your health history. They know who you're related to and where you live. That's just crazy, you know. It could also start to impact your ethnic group, said Live Science. And that's what I mean, ethnic group, racial profiling through DNA. Now, I think I heard about another person. They used to lock people up or trace people or give cops and police departments and FBI agents more information. Anybody who paid for it can just go in and look up your DNA and just use it against you any kind of way. That's why I said, they already do racial profiling with pulling people over. Who knows? They might do it with the DNA test. Or try, like I said, steal our indigenous heritage as Aborigines too. Especially if the Jews own the companies and want to put themselves as Aborigines stealing your DNA and claim that they're you, or any other racial group. Or Caucasoids are notorious for doing that. The Greys make me concerned. What are they doing with these testings? Not good at all. You're giving them free information. And they get paid at the same time for stealing your information. Anyway, it says here, it could also start to impact your ethnic group. Like I said, genetic testing companies have very small database of ethnic groups who are present in small numbers in the United States, Kaplan says. The accuracy of the test for these groups, which include Korean Americans, Vietnamese Americans, and Filipino Americans, among the others, may be skewed, Kaplan said. Meanwhile, if one group is tested in detail, it make it look like their risk for a particular disease is high simply because the data exists of the ethnicity and not for others. This is the case for the Ashkenazi Jewish women, Kaplan said, who have been shown to be at the greatest risk with two types of breast cancer genes known as BRCA1 and BRCA2. But that's partly because Ashkenazi DNA has been investigated in details thanks to their unique ancestry, she said. It's possible that other ethnic groups have a higher risk and simply haven't been tested in detail, Kaplan said. In that sense, aggregate data collected by companies like 23andMe have the potential to mislead or even create a sort of genetic stereotype, Kaplan said. Okay, let's continue. It says here, the honor system. While some of these issues are inherent in complexities of genetic testing, others arise simply because that there are not many rules constraining how at-home genetics testing companies work. Companies generally promise to keep data secure in their privacy statement, but when they sell information to third parties, Pitt said that there is no way for consumers to know who those third parties are or what their level of security might be. Similarly, Kaplan said, if a company sold itself is sold, its privacy policies can be completely revamped. Wow. See, you don't have no control of who gets your information. That's why I said it's and like I said, they don't have no strong, solid laws and regulations to enforce these companies to do right by the consumer. There's no honor system. It's based on honor system, but nowadays, in this country, anything goes with people with money. If you have money and you own a business, they usually just go, okay, you rich, you got money, you just don't have to do anything. And people, anyway, consumers are still stuck with their business being out, and anybody can have access to your information. And then they don't make these companies be held accountable. If there's no solid rules in place, anything and everything can go. And that's the scary thing. And I could see how they could abuse it really bad. And I see how us as Aborigines, it can really hit us pretty hard. But anyway, it says here, there's no binding things that says when I send my DNA to 23andMe or agree to give it to Columbia Medical School, well, forever is anonymized, he said. The consequences of genetic information getting into the wrong hands could be dire, both Kaplan and Pitt said. There is a law, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008, GINA, that aims to prevent insurance companies from denying coverage to healthy people based on genetic predisposition and to prevent employers from using genetic information to make decisions from hiring or firing or promotions. Wow. See how far this can go? It's like you just scratched this up in the, you pretty much open a can of worms with this type of information. It's like, I like this article because it's like, it just opens up, it just shows you how it could be more complex, this DNA testing. You're just thinking, oh, I'm just finding out about my heritage. But then you don't realize that when you're getting your information out, anybody and everybody have access to your information and can do whatever they see fits and how it deems for them. But then it can affect you in the long run. And I didn't think about that. This article really has you thinking more deeply as to what they're doing with your information and how it's being managed. But anyway, let's continue. It says, however, there are loopholes in GINA, Kaplan said. It doesn't apply to companies with fewer than 15 employees or to schools, nor does it apply to life or disability insurance. A recent bill introduced in the U.S. Senate, Representative House Bill 1313, would reverse some of GINA's protections in the workplace by allowing workplace wellness programs to restrict rewards to employees who refuse to provide genetic data. Wow. They're going to try to force you to give your personal information out. They are really trying to strip people their rights. Anyway, it says here, if you don't like racial profiling in airports, we're going to hate genetic profiling in the workplace. Wow, like I said, another form of racism. Oh, gosh. Welcome to the future. Specific rules could help, Pitt said. It includes stiff penalties, even jail time for hacking or theft of genetic information. Stiff penalties should be enacted for anyone who tries to submit a DNA test without the person's consent, Kaplan said. Meanwhile, the conditions consumers agree to when giving up their data should be guaranteed in perpetuality. Even if the data or company changes hands, he said. Genetic information isn't going anywhere, Pitt said. So it's time for the law to catch up with the technology. Yes, it does. It's long overdue. It simply means thoughtful regulations and thoughtful consumer education, he said. Wow. So I just wanted to share this information with everybody and let you know that that they don't have solid rules and regulation in the management of these DNA tests. It's like you're literally handing your information to this company, and they don't have to be forced to follow the rules like HIPAA, like you do at the doctor's office. Anything and everything goes. They could just sell it, and then your information be out there. So, and then we don't really know what the agenda is of these companies and what are they using this information for. And like I said, I could see how it could be used for identity theft. Again, just like they did in the olden days when they stole a lot of the Aborigines of their rights in the lands. And so I could see how this could be used again. And it's very dangerous for us. And then they're targeting us heavily as Aborigines, So I just think that we as Aborigines need to look closely and be careful of what you're doing when you give your information out to these companies and what their whole agenda is. We should be more, read up and educate ourselves and be more familiar with what's going on and be more knowledgeable. Like this article says, you definitely need to be, it says here, thoughtful consumer education. You need to know what you're getting yourself into when you get into this thing. It's a lot that you got to think about. Who's getting your information, how it's going to be used, and is it going to be another form of profiling, or, who's going to be using your information, what's going to be used for, But please like this video and thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and please put your comments below and tell me what you think. And I might be doing another video on this. Please don't forget to check me out on Black Spot TV. No, not Black Spot TV. Black Junction. Black Junction TV. And don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, peace and be blessed. Bye-bye.